Right. Most of your military in their downtime, they're playing sports for fun anyway. So
Yeah,
they're getting plenty
because
of,
they're
we're
young
playing
men.
football and all this stuff. Like, yeah, and then most combat units are doing at least one ruck march every month. And so, it's like hiking, but at a much faster pace with 40 plus pounds on. And so when I tell people, if you want functional training, that's this bullshit word we throw out there, like
Right,
rucking is going to be more functional than jogging because you're
right.
wearing the same equipment you're going to fight in. And it's like people don't realize, again, running in shorts and tennis shoes, it doesn't condition you to running in boots and pants. Like only moving in your combat gear and clothing can you recognize pinch points, and if your boots are fitted
Right,
properly or something like that. You
right.
don't get that from jogging and tennis shoes and shit.
No, if you design the endurance activity to maximize the endurance activity instead of to train the endurance activity in the environment in which it will be executed, then you're not that's not an adequate preparation. If you honestly think that we have to make these guys ruck once a month, well, they have to ruck in the gear they're going to be experiencing the ruck march in the field. Because like Randall says, you won't know the ins and outs of the equipment if you don't test it like that. And as you grow in size and gain muscular body weight, the equipment may fit differently, and all of that's going to have to be dealt with when you actually do the ruck march. But the actual ruck march is the exposure to the stress. All right? Now,
Right.
I'm looking here at a study that you guys did. All right? This is a combat fitness study 2024 is the title I've got on this thing. Now, tell me about this.
Yep. Well, like I said, I ran through it after my PCL tear, and then all the stuff we're talking about, most of the guys who've been through this stuff, we all get it, and we're
Right.
streaming this everywhere we go. So instead of, I've been talking about this on my YouTube, instead of just putting this out, hey, this is a program that would probably be a much more realistic test for your guys. Instead of just saying that from my experience and everything I've talked to my peers about, I pushed. It was about 111 dudes. We pushed through this, kind of like a little mini, study type thing, and
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of prove a couple things. And uh, that was one of the major ones. There was zero running prescribed in 2 months. We had two groups. We had trained guys, which is people who have been training more than 6 months consistently, or active duty military. We had some special operations dudes, wildland firefighters. They gotta climb mountains and stuff. And then we had an untrained group, which was anybody who's just ain't done shit or they haven't trained consistently in 6 months. And so basically we did starting strength with a rucking program, which was not insane mileage. It started off at like 3 miles or something a week,
Right.
slowly increased the weight, and zero running. And I specifically told people they're not allowed to run. And some of the guys who told me they ran on their own, I dropped them from the study because they for non-compliance. But
Right.
by the end, every single person's 1 mile run time improved. In the untrained group, everybody's 1 mile run time improved by at least 2 minutes. And in the trained group, everybody's improved by about a minute, with zero running prescribed, just by getting stronger and rucking.
See,
And you probably could have thrown the rucking out and the run still would have improved. But
yes, it would have.
there was another
But
reason to have
that's
the rucking in there.
yeah. The rucking is an exposure to the actual field conditions that you're preparing for. I understand that.
Right, and we want to
Running,
have that
however,
on the
is
on the
not.
test. We want to test guys' ability to cover ground in their gear on the test. So
Right.
that's why I wanted it
And
in the study.
and running doesn't take place in the field. Not with
Right.
shorts and running shoes. It doesn't take place in the field. And it is the biggest problem with running is that it interferes with the strength adaptation. That's the biggest problem with it. If you are having your guys run, they are not going to get as strong as they would just doing the barbell exercises and not running, so that they can recover better from the barbell exercises. And then if for some bizarre reason, after 8 or 9 months of this type of training, we figure out a reason why someone in the military in 2025 needs to run someplace, then
Well,
have a run. But
we also learned over time that, I think you mentioned this before about the height and weight stuff. They do this silly height and weight measurement. So if you
yeah,
are bigger and stronger, like I was overweight at 175 pounds, or if I got to 178 at 5'9", I was considered overweight.
isn't
And
that
and
amazing?
and
That's an
it's kind of
untrained
like
individual body weight.
right. And I was
It's
still too skinny, but
right.
so a lot of like my test, we ended up getting down to a deadlift and an overhead press to streamline it, and then 5 strict pull-ups and the 6-mile ruck. And so all the people who went through it, whether they had military experience or not, they were like, this totally makes sense. And then the untrained guys were like, yeah, this is freaking awesome. It's cool to see this proven. All the other guys in our community that they just, they're like, no, you got to run or you got to do calisthenics and shit. Their number one thing was, well, then you're testing guys to just get big, fat, and strong. And it's like, well, how so? Because if you can deadlift 1.5% of your body weight, that is kind of an anti-fat test. Because if you only train to get a big deadlift and you become a 400-pound dude, well, now your deadlift test has gone up. So, and then your pull-ups, like, if you still got to do your 5 strict pull-ups. So that's
Yeah,
kind of an anti-fat test.
yeah.
And then you've got the ruck. If so,
This little
it's kind
test
of
that I
a
devised a long time ago that you and I talked about on the previous show,
exactly.
I think it covers all the bases. But what is fascinating to me is that there are still people who think that exercise makes you fat. How deadlifts make you fat? I mean,
Oh, getting strong.
you.
Well, like I said,
I'm
they're
sorry. I just
strawmanning.
get so frustrated with this. I can't talk
They're
sometimes.
they're thinking they're trying to argue based on that one fat guy they see at the gym. There
Right.
there is that
Right.
one guy at the gym that he can bench press, 390, but he weighs 400 pounds.
Right.
So, but that's the one guy. They
That's
don't
that's
see.
not the rule. That's the
Yeah,
exception. Join us this week on Starting Strength Radio. This time we're going to talk to our friend Randall from gruntproof.us. And we are going to talk about military stuff and my thoughts on it, more importantly, his thoughts on it, and the problems and the solutions and all of this kind of extremely fun stuff to talk about, since it's never probably going to happen. But we can all hope. Join us this Friday on Starting Strength Radio.